Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be basically a quick preview of the stream that I'm going to be doing later this week, giving a showcase of Morse as a game in its current state, the full version of it. We're going to hop straight in. The main version of the game has a number of telegraphs available. I'm just going to turn down the music just a little bit more. Down to here. So the game has a bunch of different telegraphs. For anyone that doesn't know what Morse is, it's a game that teaches you the language of Morse code, and you achieve that from using a lot of different telegraph types. So in the game, there is currently 4 different telegraph types supported. There is straight key, which is your kind of conventional, traditional one, which is what we've got here. You've got your iambic keys, which are somewhere out of view, but like double paddle keys. You've got your side swiper, which is a lovely little kind of control mechanism. I think that's one of my favorites. And then you've got semi-auto, which is like a blend of the side swiper and iambic. So we're going to just pick nice and easy straight key because I've got this controller over here, which pairs really nicely with that. So yeah, I'm going to give kind of a quick summary of how the game works, and then get stuck in and show you what it looks like with someone who understands Morse code. Not an expert, but someone who has learnt enough Morse code to be able to operate the game. So the game is quite similar to battleships, where you're moving around a grid, you're trying to target units kind of hidden on the grid. You've got your Morse code on the left-hand side, the right-hand side of the screen here, and I can enter Morse code using this telegraph right here. So if I enter dots or dashes, you can see those are being outputted. So I can do like 2 dots. Ooh, I'm just going to quickly check why those beeps aren't coming through. That's curious. Oh, maybe it's coming through on the other headphone. Give me a second. Okay, I think it's coming through on the speaker. It's fine. Cool. So I'm going to enter the letter N, which is made up of 1 dash and 1 dot. And the way Morse works is that rather than entering full words, you're entering individual letters. When you enter a letter, it moves you around the grid. So if I enter the letter R, which is dot dash dot, that moves the kind of target reticule left. And then if I go for L, which is a mix, that then moves the grid further. So I'm going to move on to the next stage of how the game works, which is calling down artillery. We're going to be hitting a couple of hidden ships here, so if I... Oh no, some of my wiring wrong. Give me 1 second. Nice, there we go. So you can see that I blew up a ship there. To make it clear what I'm targeting, the enemies in this game are hidden, so you can't see them. It's meant to be kind of like a midnight assault by the Kaiser's fleet, so you can't see the ships that you're targeting. So you need to shoot near them or on target to reveal them. So you can see that when I fire here, there's one ship at A that has been revealed, and then another ship at N which is still hidden. So if I target the ship at A now, that destroys the ship. And then if I go to N here, oops, I went to R instead. You can see that going to R and shooting there reveals that ship. I'm just going to finish that one off. And the flow of the game is that you eliminate the ships, during the wave. You're then presented with the option to pick between 2 artillery types or 2 upgrade types. So whether that's a heavy shell or a horizontal shell, I'm going to pick the horizontal shell. I really quite like the horizontal shell in this game. This a little bit into kind of how this controller works. I've got a telegraph here that outputs dots and dashes on this like lovely kind of LED rope here that's kind of just giving me a feed of what's going on. And then that's also being fed to this little device back here called a makey makey that's being fed into the computer that converts that to game control inputs. So now in gameplay we're going to plant mines. So as well as having your artillery, you've got this kind of like backline of mines that you can use to kind of cover you whilst you're not looking. So I'm just going to... And you can also stack these mines, so if you place one on top of the other, it kind of creates a little wall almost that stops ships from being able to breach it. So we're now in one of the main waves, so I should be able to target in the dark and see if there is ships. And sure enough, you've got some ships here. Now, I've just today implemented a new mechanic to the game, which is when I was getting feedback from the community. There's been like a lot of people in the ham radio community that have been quite enthusiastic about the game, which is so much fun. I've honestly loved chatting to them about the project. Yeah, like I've been getting kind of lots of feedback and insight. One of the things that was mentioned was the fact that people found it frustrating that in the previous version of the game, let me just get past this bit here. I'm going to pick that option there. So in a previous version of the game, you basically had to you had this ammo feed that's kind of coming in from the left-hand side here that you can kind of partially see in the bottom left, and that is where your ammunition comes from. So the more like you'll have different artillery shell types or different mine types coming in, and as you fire, that kind of depletes, and you've got to kind of keep on top of topping that up or letting it refill, otherwise you run out of ammo. It's not possible to completely run out of ammo, but you've got to keep a good flow of it. And I've realised that giving people an option to pick ammo up the stack is actually quite satisfying. But one thing that I've been really stubborn with for this game is I want to keep it strictly to just 2 buttons to operate the whole game with. Just because I think like a lot of strategy games, they have lots of moving parts, and that can make them quite hard to get into. And even games that use conventional game pads or things like that often have a lot of buttons that again can still make the game quite intimidating. So by just having 2 buttons really bakes down the mechanics down to something that most people can kind of understand. Like approachable design is something that I really care about, and I kind of feel like I've achieved that with this. Anyway, so the thing I was going to mention is if you, in the current version of this game, if you hold down the launch button, you can actually skip the stack, so you can kind of work your way up the stack rather than having to wait for the shell, kind of blow up all your previous shells to be able to get to the one that you want. And that's handy when you're not wanting to use a shell yet. You can kind of basically cache it by moving to the shell after it. And it's not quite useful at this point in gameplay because I'm only just using the kind of light shells, which seem to be coming up in quite high frequency. I don't know which row these ships are going to be on. Oh, nice. But you can see I'm making quite light work of these ships. I've been playing this game for about 10 years now, so you'd hope that I'd be reasonably adept at it at this point. So I've got a double mine upgrade now, which is pretty handy. I'm gonna just tweak the settings a little bit. So you can kind of come into the settings of the game and just calibrate your telegraph to just be a little bit more responsive. The cooldown is basically when you've entered a letter, how long it takes before this slider. You can see the kind of white. Oh, whoops! Oh no. The white slider on the right hand side, you can see it runs down. I've got it on quite high here, but that's because again I've been playing the game for a long time. So okay, I'm going to place mine here. The mines can stack up to 3 on one spot, so we're pretty well defended here. Cool. Hoping the taps aren't coming through too loud. So one thing you might have noticed is that after a couple of rounds, the map kind of starts to grow vertically. So you can see I started out with just 1 row, and now I've got 2. That's going to keep getting worse. So you've got to basically juggle all these overlapping rows that kind of become more and more chaotic as time goes on. The first few waves are kind of easy because you can effectively just sit on 1 row and just shoot when the ships come into play, you know. But with you getting multiple rows, it gets a little bit harder, and it's harder to predict which spots the enemies are going to spawn in on. So I should be able to kill this ship. Oh, so this is like a good example of so the thing I was telling you about before with the being able to skip shells. So if I hold down the launch button, I was able to skip that double launch multi-shot shell there, and that just means that rather than wasting it on like a small ship, there might be a big ship that I want to target it with later on that's worth saving it for, like the ones coming in here. And that ties into the one of the elements of the game that is perfect. One of the elements of the game that is a relatively new addition is this, like, you can see in the bottom left hand corner there's like a red scale, and that is basically your kind of precision meter. So it's to tell you how accurately you've been shooting. So if you can consistently hit targets without missing, then you're rewarded with give me a sec. Yeah, so if you hit targets without missing, that basically means that you're rewarded with a higher ammo rate. So players who are really adept at the game and find themselves running out of ammo, if they consistently don't miss, they'll get a higher feed of ammunition. So you can see me at this point, I've not missed in a while. I'm probably going to miss because I need to see what's out there. But yeah, so unfortunately that scale's gone all the way down. But I'm pretty sure I can fill that back up pretty quick. And you can see here that this is where that new feature really comes into its own. I might... oh. I failed filling the scale, so I'm still doing okay. Haven't lost any lives yet. Okay, this is going pretty well. That's the ship I wanted to use that on. Ooh, so we've got a minesweeper coming in now on the bottom. So this is a perfect example of a ship that's worth saving those shells for. So in terms of like what inspired the game, Morse was inspired by rather than like a lot of games get inspired by things like other games or like art or films or things like that. The thing that actually inspired Morse was a clothes peg. A lot of my career has been spent doing weird games controllers and doing like experimental hardware and things like that. And I was basically in like a game jam, and I was faffing around with a clothes peg, and it was surprisingly tactile as a telegraph key, because you could just kind of tap it, and it was very satisfying. And I decided to build like a little prototype with that little flash game at the time, and that again proved to be really quite satisfying. So developed it further into a slightly more sophisticated prototype that did pretty well at the time. Got some nice press coverage, and people seemed to really enjoy. And unfortunately, at the time, I just didn't have the skill set to be able to develop the game properly, so I shelved it for a bit and came back to it maybe 5 years ago. And I got the opportunity to redevelop it in Unity with a team, compared to the tool I currently use for the game, which is Stencil. But after kind of touring it around and developing it and updating it for Unity, I kind of realized after burning out quite badly on the project and almost running out of money that the scope was too big of the Unity version, and actually the game was better at the scale that it was in Stencil. And honestly, I'd bloated the size of the project to kind of try and make it publisher friendly, which was just silly in hindsight, but you learn these things. But now, I've come back to the game relatively recently, and I'm just really chuffed with it. There just seems to be a bit of a momentum building around it, and in particular, I'm just kind of focusing on trying to engage the ham radio community, because I don't know, they're a really passionate bunch, and they have like this incredible depth of knowledge and enthusiasm for this kind of stuff. And it's just nice to make stuff for existing communities rather than kind of building a community for your game. I like the fact that I hope in time, from engaging with this community, that I'm going to get my call sign, and I'm going to get a ham radio license, and take this installation to ham radio conferences and try and do outreach with it, to kind of get younger people interested in ham radio. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been this enthusiastic about the project, but and I've missed it. I've missed working on the game, but I did need a break to work on other stuff, which I've really appreciated. Okay. It's surprisingly difficult trying to do what's it called? Dialogue. Oh, sugar. At the same time as entering, it's like doing two languages at once. Oh. Oh well. Lost another mine. Oops. So in terms of my the different means of controlling the game, I've already collected a bunch of different telegraphs. So I've got like this kind of standard British one I've got here that I've kind of built a custom housing for with a bunch of electronics inside. I've got this makeshift one that I've built that is like made of a toenail clipper, which you can watch a video for online. I've produced, I've got like iambic keys. I've got like a tiny Soviet key. I don't know if I'm not going to risk opening my drawer, but yeah, I've got a bunch of them, and it's nice that like each one has its own kind of unique feel, and the idea of having a game that remains the same, but the peripheral that you play it with changes the feel of the game's experience is just something that I've not seen really explored enough. And my background, for the most part, is in what's known as alternative controllers. I've been doing those for like at least maybe 11, 12 years at this point. I absolutely love building weird peripherals for people to play games with. Just because, we used to be an industry that like really prioritized like approachability and building stuff that people could kind of just walk up to and know how to like interact with. I don't know, we just have kind of shifted towards these like weird kind of alien games controllers that a lot of people don't really find that intuitive, outside of games, that is. And so give me a second. Okay, nice. Wow, that's a lot of enemies. Oh, heck. So like alternative controllers have been this thing that I've been always kind of like quite fascinated and fixated by. But one of the big problems with them is they're very hard to commercially scale, because obviously like you can't just build, as an indie, you can't ship a bunch of games controllers around the world, particularly with things like tariffs or I don't know, just the cost of shipping now. It's just a bit of a nightmare. So with like or there's the thing of like, if you can't get a hold of the controller, then like if it's reliant on having like this interface that's a bit obtuse, then like it means that no one with that setup can really play the game. So I've kind of settled on this idea that if you are going to do alternative controllers, and this isn't to gatekeep, but just I think if you're going to try and make it break through to regular players, is to offer... I'm doing a really bad job of doing P. Okay, I think I can catch this ship. There we go. If you are going to like present this to players in a way that's going to be replicable or reach a broader audience, Reconnaissance Shell is really good in this. I recently added it, and it's just kind of transformed the way that the game plays. I'll get to that in a second. But I just need to quickly check something. Okay, I did unlock double mines. That's fine. So my brain's just gone in 3 different directions. Yeah, so like basically with alternative controllers, like they're very, very hard to like distribute on a kind of a large scale. So the thing to go for is, rather than the game being dependent on having the telegraph, it's just a nice extra. So like you can enhance the game's experience and the feel of the game's experience by having one, but the game will work perfectly fine without it. It should be like, do you want more immersion? Add this, build and add this thing. but if not, it can work fine on its own. A great example of this is, I haven't kind of completed this yet. Let me just deal with this ship. Uh-oh. Oh, I blew my combo. There we go. Da-da. Yeah, it was this thing, this little controller here, which was like, I built like a little chassis for the Playdate. I'll tell you what, I'll pause the game real quick so I don't lose. So I built a little chassis for this little device called a Playdate. So you just kind of plug this in here, and it turns the Playdate into a little telegraph. And like, you can technically play the game without it by just doing this, but it feels really satisfying having that little spring-loaded lever for operating the game. Yeah, so that's like a good example of like the game being enhanced by that input, but not integral. Okay, let me deal with these ships. One other nice kind of design flourish with the controls for this game. Oh god, this isn't looking good. I think I've got mines up top. Yeah, I have. Is you've got the cooldown that kind of does its thing, like it'll send you coordinates once it's emptied, but you can actually push the fire button before the cooldown's finished to like send coordinates sooner if you're wanting to be quick. So I'm hoping for like speedrunners that play MORSE, hopefully they'll take advantage of that to be able to fire faster and kill units faster. I mean, hopefully from what I'm doing here, it's clear that that's possible. What was I going to tell you all about? I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. Getting into my flow now. So you can see, like, with every map that passes, like, the word changes. The words that are being used, like, kind of randomly assigned, are what are known as isograms. So it's words with non-repeating letters. Between these two upgrades, flash illumination is pretty useful. So that basically increases the brightness. Like, when you fire an artillery shot and it, like, lands, it creates, like, a muzzle flash around it. Or, like, a kind of, like, a quick, like, illumination that, like, lights up ships in the area. So, like, this increases that radius, which means that you can see ships from further away, which is really handy. Recon sea mines, I prefer to go for, because when you get to later missions where you can see now, you can't see all of the grid spaces at once, it'll let you know if a grid out of sight has been, like if an enemy has blown up a mine on a row that you can't see, so you don't get caught out. So that's my kind of one of my go-to ones. I am running quite low on mines. This might kill me this round, because this is quite a short map. But I guess we'll see. So the recon shell, hopefully one comes up. That is a new addition as well, where basically if it's a shell that doesn't really pack much punch, but what it does is it illuminates, like it has like a high level of illumination. So oh, that would have been really useful to kill those ships there. Oh, there's that recon thing coming into use. Am I going to get there in time? Oh, I think the ship got killed. This is quite messy. I have absolutely no idea how I'm supposed to interact with chat whilst also doing this kind of level of telegraphy. I know people do it with video games all the time, but like, goddamn, like I don't get it. Like, you are quite talented people to be able to juggle like that. Yeah, so it's basically like the recon shot doesn't actually do that much damage, but it like reveals all the enemies on the map, which is kind of useful for this one, this mode. But the place that it really shines is the expert mode, where enemies aren't revealed unless you get them with a direct hit, which means that that's basically a means of seeing all the ships within a pretty high radius momentarily. Like your visibility is really restricted on expert mode, so you've got to be pretty savvy with your shell placement and things like that. The other thing is as well, rather than just constantly firing, I can wait a second to see. That might have been a mistake actually. On it. Let's see. Oh no, I think I'm good. This is going to be close. Oh no. Okay, I've lost one life, I think, which is unfortunate, but it's probably inevitable on a map this short. Oh my goodness, come on. Have I done it? I think there's one more. Oh no, come on, come on, come on. Okay, sweet. I'm gonna go for the radius illumination. Health would be good, but I think I can survive a little bit longer. What am I on? Wave 10 of 15. Okay. I've still not had any extra shells. This is kind of proving a little bit of a strain. Should be okay. I could just really do with one on the next round. It's warm in here. I wonder if my laptop's like cooking because it's got like basically every port is being used for something. And it is actually kind of hot in here. Oh no. Okay, looks like 5's been targeted. Oh, something I forgot to mention. The closer to the center of the ships that you hit, the more damage you do. So sometimes it's kind of worth waiting a second just to kind of really get that central hit to save ammo, which you can see in this situation is kind of necessary. I was trying to be conservative with my shell usage there to try and save them for a rainy day, but the rainy day crept up on me. Come on. I think when I do this proper, I'm gonna pause the stream to see questions rather than trying to juggle, because I don't think that's gonna be possible. Oh shit. Oh, sorry. That's fine. The option to like skip between the shells has made like a huge difference to being able to build up that combo meter on the left hand side, because previously you'd just be stuck with a shell that you didn't want to use, which would just break your combo, which was really frustrating. So you just lose all that momentum just because of randomness, whilst now you can be like really specific with what shells you choose to play, and that just feels so much like I've only literally introduced this afternoon from some kind of some feedback that someone gave on the Steam demo, and it was like such a good shout. Like I've kind of played with having it that you could skip the ammo previously, but I just couldn't figure out how to do it. Yeah. This is getting pretty spicy. There we go. I think that's going to kill it. Yep. Oh, these are very nicely arranged. Sweet. Okay. I quite like the extended horizontal shot. That one, if you get it like really highly upgraded, is like ridiculous. It like you can just strafe like a huge number of rows really effectively. Yeah, which is really quite nice. So you can see that the grid is getting kind of absurdly long now. This is kind of a problem for me because I don't have any mines. So that might be particularly difficult with what I'm about to go up against, which I think the dreadnoughts will be in play this round. I'm not doing a good job of getting started. So there's nothing... What I like about when the rows get this long is there's kind of like a bit of a method to madness moment where... oh, there's the dreadnought. Let me deal with this. Oh, I need to deal with you. Oh, I don't, apparently. Come on. Nice. They take a lot of hits to kill. I can't remember what I was saying, but it's fine. Oh yeah, it's around like madness. So, yeah, basically, you can kind of, after a certain point of playing this, you can kind of almost predict where the ships are going to spawn by, like, if the rows at the top are empty, then you probably know that there are ships on the lower rows. So you can kind of begin to predict where ships are going to be, which, when you start being able to do that, feels really satisfying. I think I'm about to lose another life. There we go. Yeah. So that was like an example there. Like, I could tell by the lack of ships on the top rows that there was something on the lower rows that I needed to deal with. Okay. This might be it. I don't know if I can face off these enemies. Come on. An enemy. Oh, damn it. I think I'm about to lose some lives. Come on. Okay, that's fine. Uh-oh. That was a lazy life to lose. Oh well. Okay. I'm thinking of maybe switching the combo and the ammo feed. Like, I wonder if it would make more sense for the little bar down the side to be the ammo feed and the combo bar to be much more prevalent and visible, by having it running horizontally. Some people outside making lots of noise. That's funny. The joys of living in the middle of town. Amazing. Oh, whoops. I was... Mate, who's out on a Thursday night? It's Thursday, right? That's potentially going to be a problem when doing the main stream. Be right. Oops. I think I'm about to lose. Oh my god. What the... Okay. This isn't looking good. Hey, I want to stop playing this game and figure out what the hell's going on outside. That might be about to happen. Yep, that's it. Oh, well. Let's take a peek. Well, I guess we'll leave it there. I don't know how much of that screaming you've heard, but... oh well. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble and watch me play the game. You can wishlist the game on Steam now, and you can try out the demo. And yeah, feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. I'm open to having more things added into the game. And yeah, thank you so much for checking out the project. Take care and enjoy the rest of Steam Next Fest. See you later.